The villagers said her shadow frightened the chickens. They said even the goats ran when they heard her footsteps. They whispered that the spirits cursed her before she drew her first breath. But what they never saw, what they could never see, was that this girl, this twisted, broken girl, would be the only one brave enough to walk into the forest of the dead. And the flower she carried out would change everything. In a small village nestled between two hills, where the sun rose red over clay rooftops and the elders' words were law, there lived a girl named Amara. But no one called her that. They called her the hunchback, the crooked one, the demon's child. Amara was born with a spine that curved like a question mark, bending her body forward as if she were forever bowing to a world that would never bow back. Her left arm hung thin and useless at her side. Her right foot dragged when she walked, carving uneven lines in the red dust. But there was something else, something the villagers never noticed because they never looked past her body. Her eyes were amber, deep, luminous, impassable amber, like sunlight trapped in honey. But who looks at the eyes of a crooked girl? Amara's mother died bringing her into the world. The midwives crossed themselves and muttered that the gods had rejected the child. Her father, Quaim, heard their whispers and held his daughter closer. "You are not broken, my little star," he would say, using the name only he called her. "The world is, and one day it will see." For years it was just the two of them. Her father loved her fiercely, protecting her from cruel words and crueler stares. But time, as it always does, proved unkind. When Amara was 13, her father collapsed in the cassava fields. 3 days later he was gone at the burial. Amara's aunt Mabel stood beside her, dressed in black, her face painted with practiced grief. Mabel was Quaim's older sister, a widow with a daughter named Essie. "Don't worry, child," Mabel whispered to Amara, her hand cold on the crooked shoulder. "You'll always have a home with us." Amara believed her. That was her first mistake. The kindness lasted exactly 1 week, long enough for the neighbors to stop watching. Then Mabel's voice changed. Her eyes turned cold, and Amara became a slave in her own father's house. Every morning before the sun cracked the horizon, Mabel's voice would slice through the compound like a whip. "Amara, fetch water from the stream. 5 trips, don't you dare spill a drop." Amara would strap the clay pot to her curved back, the weight pressing against her bent spine, and walk. Each step was agony. Her dragging foot left a trail in the dust. Children would stop their games to point and laugh as she passed. By the time she returned, Mabel had a new list. Grind the pepper, sweep the compound, scrub the pots, cook the soup, wash the clothes, mend the roof, tend the goats. Always the goats, that was Essie's favorite joke. "Mother, why does Amara smell like goats?" "Because even goats need someone beneath them, my darling." They would laugh together while Amara stirred the pot, her thin arms shaking from the weight of the wooden spoon. Essie was everything Amara was not: tall, straight, beautiful. She wore bright wrappers and oiled her skin until it glowed like polished wood. She walked with her head high, her back straight, her steps graceful as a dancer's. When young men passed their compound, they stared at Essie. They didn't even see Amara, and that's exactly how Mabel wanted it. 4 years passed like this. Amara grew into a young woman, her body still bent, her spirit somehow unbroken. At night, she slept in the small hut beside the goat pen, too exhausted to dream. But sometimes, when the moon was full and the village silent, she would look up at the stars and remember her father's words. One day it will see. She was still waiting. Then one morning everything changed. The sound of royal drums echoed through the village, traders abandoned their stalls, women stopped pounding yam. Children ran toward the marketplace, screaming with excitement. The royal messenger, dressed in white robes with the golden crest on his chest, stood in the center of the square. His voice boomed like thunder. "Hear me, people of this land. Prince Kofi, the king's only son and heir to the throne, has fallen ill with the sleeping sickness. The royal healers have tried everything. Nothing works. The prince grows weaker with each passing day." The crowd gasped. The sleeping sickness was a death sentence. No one survived. The messenger continued. "But there is one cure, the starflower. It blooms once every generation in the Valley of Whispers, deep in the forbidden forest. The king makes this declaration: any maiden, rich or poor, high or low, who retrieves the starflower and saves the prince's life will become his bride, the future queen of this land. The marketplace erupted. Women clapped, young girls screamed. Mothers grabbed their daughters' hands, already imagining crowns on their heads. In Mabel's compound, Essie spun in circles, her wrapper flowing around her. "Mother, mother, did you hear? I'll be queen. I'm the most beautiful girl in this village. The prince will choose me." Mabel's eyes gleamed with greed. "Yes, my daughter, this is your destiny. We'll prepare you new clothes, new beads. You'll be irresistible." From the corner of the compound, Amara listened, her heart beat faster, not because she dreamed of being queen, she knew better than to dream, but because someone was dying, and she knew about suffering, she knew what it meant to need help and receive none. "Aunt Mabel," Amara said quietly, stepping forward. "May I go with the other maidens? May I try to find the flower?" Mabel spun around. For a moment her face showed pure rage, then she laughed, a cold, mocking sound. "You," she laughed harder. "You want to retrieve the starflower? Look at yourself, Amara. You can barely walk to the stream without collapsing. The forest would eat you alive. No, you'll stay here and tend the goats where you belong." Essie giggled. Imagine Amara saving the prince. He'd die of fright just looking at her. Amara lowered her head and said nothing. Over the next 3 days, maidens from across the land prepared for the quest. They dressed in their finest wrappers, braided their hair with gold beads, and painted their faces with camwood. One by one, they entered the Valley of Whispers. One by one, they returned screaming. "The forest is alive," one girl wept, her wrapper torn. "The trees whispered my secrets. Shadows grabbed my ankles. I ran, I couldn't stay." Another maiden collapsed at the village entrance. The spirits. They asked me questions I couldn't answer. They showed me visions of my death. I begged them to let me leave. By the 4th day, every maiden had failed. The royal messenger returned to the marketplace, his face grim. "The prince has only 3 days left to live. Is there no one brave enough to face the forest?" Silence. That night, Amara lay in her small hut beside the goat pen. She couldn't sleep. Outside, the goats snuffled softly. Above, the moon was full, casting silver light through the cracks in the roof. She thought of her father. "You are not broken, my little star. The world is." She thought of the dying prince, a young man she'd never met, suffering alone. She thought of all the beautiful maidens who had tried and failed, and she made a decision. Amara waited until Mabel's snoring shook the compound walls. Her twisted body ached from the day's labor. Her back screamed. Her thin arm throbbed. Her foot dragged. But she moved anyway. She wrapped herself in her father's old cloak, the only thing she'd kept hidden. She took nothing else. No food, no water, just herself and the moonlight. She had never disobeyed Mabel before, but the prince was dying and no one else would try. The Valley of Whispers waited at the edge of the village, a dark mouth in the earth. Trees grew twisted and black, no birds sang, no insects chirped. Even the wind seemed afraid to enter. Amara stood at the entrance, her amber eyes reflecting the moonlight. She took one step forward. The forest swallowed her whole. Inside, the darkness was absolute. Amara's dragging footsteps echoed. Her breathing came hard and fast, then the whispers started. "Turn back, crooked girl, you don't belong here, even we don't want you." Amara kept walking. The trees shifted, their branches reaching like fingers. Shadows pulled at her feet, tugging at her dragging leg. "Why do you walk forward when your body pulls you down?" "Because someone needs help," Amara whispered. "And I know what it's like to need help and receive none." The forest went silent. Then the path opened. Amara walked for hours. Her body screamed with pain. Her foot bled from dragging across sharp roots. Her thin arm hung useless at her side, but she didn't stop. Finally, she reached a clearing. In the center stood a woman, beautiful beyond measure, glowing with silver light. Behind her, growing from a pool of moonlit water, was the starflower. It bloomed white and luminous, its petals like captured starlight. "Well, well," the woman said, circling Amara slowly. "A crooked girl comes where beauties fear to tread. Tell me, child, why do you seek the flower? To save the prince. Why, you don't know him, he's never seen you, he would never choose someone like you." Amara met the woman's eyes. I'm not doing this to be chosen, I'm doing it because it's right. The woman smiled. How noble, but first you must prove your worth. I will ask you 3 riddles. Answer correctly and the flower is yours. Fail and you will wander this forest until your bones turn to dust. Amara's heart pounded, but she nodded. I'm ready. The spirit woman's smile sharpened. First riddle. What is more powerful than the gods, more evil than the demons? The poor have it, the rich need it, and if you eat it you will die. Amara closed her amber eyes, thinking. Her father's voice echoed in her memory, teaching her riddles by the fire when she was small. She opened her eyes. Nothing. The spirit woman's eyes widened slightly. Nothing is more powerful than the gods. Nothing is more evil than the demons. The poor have nothing, the rich need nothing, and if you eat nothing you will die. The spirit woman's smile faded slightly. Clever girl, second riddle. I have no wings but I fly, I have no eyes but I cry. Wherever I go darkness follows me. What am I? Amara looked up at the sky through the twisted branches. She thought of the journey here, how the moon had guided her through the darkness. A cloud. A cloud flies without wings. Rain is its tears, and clouds cast shadows wherever they move. The spirit woman stopped circling, her eyes narrowed. You are wiser than you look, crooked child, but this final riddle will break you. Listen carefully. She leaned close, her breath cold against Amara's face. I am always hungry and must always be fed. The finger I touch will soon turn red. What am I? Amara's mind raced. Always hungry, always fed. The finger turns red. Then she remembered the cooking fire she tended every morning. How Mabel would beat her when she let it die. Fire, Amara whispered. Fire is always hungry, it must be fed wood to survive, and if you touch it your finger turns red with burns. The clearing went absolutely silent. The spirit woman stared at her for a long, long moment, then she threw back her head and laughed, a sound like wind through empty trees. You have answered all 3. You are the first in 20 years to do so. She stepped aside, revealing the path to the starflower. But before you take it, I offer you one more choice. Not a riddle this time, a gift. She waved her hand and a mirror appeared. Amara saw herself reflected but different, her back straight, her arms strong, her legs even, her face glowed with beauty. I can give you this, the woman whispered. Before you take the flower, walk into the palace tomorrow and the prince will fall to his knees. You'll be chosen, you'll be queen. All I ask in return is a small piece of your heart, your compassion, your kindness. You'll barely notice it's gone. Amara stared at the reflection. For one terrible moment she imagined it, imagined walking without pain, imagined Mabel's face, imagined the prince's eyes on her, then she thought of her father's words. No, Amara said firmly. I would rather stay twisted and kind than become straight and cold. Now please let me take the flower, a man is dying. The woman stared at her for a long, long moment, then she stepped aside. Take it then, crooked girl. You have passed the only test that matters. Amara limped to the pool. She bent down, her back screaming in protest, and plucked the starflower. Its glow pulsed in her thin hand like a heartbeat. Go, the woman said softly, and may you receive what you deserve. Amara walked back through the forest. The trees parted for her now, the shadows let her pass. By the time she reached the village, dawn was breaking. Her body was beyond exhausted. Blood soaked through her wrapper, every step was agony. She stumbled into Mabel's compound and collapsed beside the goat pen, the starflower clutched against her chest. She would save the prince. Then she closed her eyes just for a moment. When Amara woke, the sun was high, but the starflower was gone. She sat up, panic flooding her chest. Her eyes darted around the empty compound. Then she heard it, voices, laughter coming from the direction of the palace. Amara dragged herself to her feet and followed the sound. The palace courtyard was filled with people. At the center, kneeling before the king, were Mabel and Essie. Essie held the starflower. Your Majesty, Mabel said, her voice dripping with false humility. My daughter risked her life to retrieve this flower. She braved the cursed forest. She faced the spirits. She brings you the cure for your son. The king leaned forward on his throne, his eyes sharp. Tell me, girl, how did you find the starflower? What did the spirits ask you in the forest? Essie's smile faltered. "Aye. The journey was treacherous, your majesty, many dangers." "That is not what I asked," the king interrupted. "What riddles did the spirit ask you?" "Riddles," Essie's voice cracked. They asked about courage," and the king's fist struck the arm of his throne. "You're lying." From the shadows near the palace entrance, Amara watched, hidden, invisible, as always. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might break through her chest. Her hands trembled. Her hunched back pressed against the cool stone wall. They stole what I risked my life for, but what could she do? She was nobody, she'd always been nobody. She looked down at her hands, thin hands, hands that plucked the starflower from the sacred pool. Hands that held her father's when he died. "Aunt Mabel will beat you if you speak. She will make your life worse than it already is. She will find a way to hurt you. Stay quiet, stay hidden, it's safer in the shadows." But then she heard the prince's weak voice from his bedside beside the throne. "Father, please, someone truly found that flower, someone brave, don't let suspicion steal their reward." Amara's heart pounded. You walked into death's forest when beauties ran away. You answered the spirit's riddles when your mind was your only weapon. You refused paradise to keep your heart, and you're going to hide now when it matters most. Her hand stopped trembling. She took one step forward out of the shadows into the light. Her voice cut through the courtyard like a blade. "Lies." The word echoed through the courtyard. Every head turned. From the shadows of the palace entrance, Amara emerged, hunched, twisted, limping, covered in dried blood and dirt. The crowd gasped, some stepped back. Children hid behind their mothers, but Amara kept walking, her amber eyes fixed on the king. "I retrieved the starflower, your majesty, and I can prove it." Mabel's face went white. "Amara, you insolent." "Silence," the king commanded. He looked at Amara. "Speak, child, answer my question." "What did the spirit say to you?" Amara's voice rang clear and steady. "The spirit asked me 3 riddles, your majesty. The first, what is more powerful than the gods, more evil than the demons? The poor have it, the rich need it, and if you eat it you will die." The crowd leaned forward. Mabel's hands clenched into fists. "The answer," Amara continued, "is nothing. Nothing is more powerful than the gods, nothing is more evil than the demons. The poor have nothing, the rich need nothing. And if you eat nothing, you will die." The king sat back impressed. "Continue." MC 19, the second riddle. "I have no wings, but I fly. I have no eyes, but I cry. Wherever I go, darkness follows me. What am I?" She paused, letting the riddle hang in the air. "A cloud, your majesty. A cloud flies without wings. Rain is its tears, and clouds cast shadows wherever they move." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The king leaned forward. "And the third?" "I am always hungry and must always be fed. The finger I touch will soon turn red." "What am I?" Amara met the king's eyes. "Fire. Fire is always hungry for wood. It must be fed constantly, and if you touch it, your finger turns red." The crowd went silent. The king studied her face. "You answered the riddles, you proved your worth, but tell me one more thing. After you answered the spirit's questions, what happened?" Amara hesitated. This part was harder to say, more revealing. "The spirit woman offered me a bargain, your majesty." "What kind of bargain?" "She showed me a vision of myself with a straight back, strong arms, even legs. She said she would give me beauty and strength before I took the flower so the prince would choose me. But the magic would cost me my compassion, my kindness. I would become beautiful outside but empty inside." The courtyard went silent. "I refused," Amara continued, her voice breaking. "I told her I would rather stay twisted and kind than become straight and cold. Then she let me take the flower." The king stared at her. "You refused paradise." "It wasn't paradise, your majesty, it was a prison." From his sickbed beside the throne, Prince Kofi raised his head weakly. His skin was grey, his eyes sunken, but he looked at Amara with something like wonder. "She refused," the prince whispered. "She chose her heart over her body." A man pushed through the crowd. He was dressed in rough leather, carrying a hunting bow. "Your majesty," the hunter said, kneeling. "I was tracking game near the Valley of Whispers 2 nights ago. I saw this maiden enter the forest. I tried to warn her away, but she walked with purpose. At dawn, I saw her emerge, limping, bleeding, carrying the starflower. I followed her back to her compound. I watched these two women take the flower from her hands while she slept. The crowd erupted, voices overlapped. Mabel grabbed Essie's arm, trying to pull her toward the exit. "No, please," Mabel cried. "I was only trying to help my daughter. She deserves to be queen." "Your daughter," the king said coldly, "deserves nothing. You both stole credit for another's courage. You lied to your king. The punishment for such deception is death." He turned to Amara. "Come forward, child." Amara limped to the throne, her body shaking. The king's face softened. "You saved my son. Name your reward." "I need no reward, your majesty. I only ask that you give the prince the flower. He's dying." The prince spoke again, his voice weak but clear. "Father." "I choose her," the crowd gasped. "What?" Mabel shrieked. "You can't choose her. Look at her. She's deformed. She's hideous." Prince Kofi looked at Amara's eyes for the first time, really saw them. "Amber, deep, impassable amber. Your eyes," he whispered. "I've never seen such eyes." Amara looked away, ashamed, but the prince reached out his weak hand. "I don't care about your back or your arm or your leg. You walked into death's forest when beauties fled. You refused power to keep your heart. You risked everything for a stranger. That is the woman I want beside me." Tears ran down Amara's twisted face. "Your Highness, I cannot. The starflower can heal two people," the king interrupted gently. "Not one. Its magic is powerful enough." Amara's eyes widened. "Then give it all to the prince, please. He needs—" "No," Prince Kofi said firmly. "We share it. Both of us heal, or neither of us does." The royal healer prepared the flower, grinding its petals into a glowing liquid. They gave half to the prince, half to Amara. The effect was immediate. Color returned to the prince's face, his breathing steadied. Strength flowed back into his limbs, and Amara felt it too. Her spine began to straighten slowly like a tree growing toward the sun. Her thin arm filled out, muscle returning. Her dragging legs strengthened, evening out. The pain that had lived in her body for 25 years faded. When the transformation finished, Amara stood straight for the first time in her life. The crowd stared in stunned silence. She was beautiful, not because her body was perfect now, but because her amber eyes finally had a face worthy of them. Prince Kofi stood from his bed, fully healed. He took her hand. "Will you marry me, Amara?" She looked at him, at his kind eyes, at the hand that held hers without hesitation. "Yes," she whispered. The palace erupted in celebration. The wedding was held 3 days later. The entire kingdom came to witness the crooked girl who became queen. But there was other business to attend to first. Mabel and Essie were brought before the king in chains. "Your cruelty to your own niece is unforgivable," the king declared. "You turned her into a slave, you stole her achievement, you deserve the harshest punishment, death." He leaned forward. "But the new princess has requested mercy." Amara stepped forward, standing straight and tall in her royal wrapper. "Let them tend the royal goats," she said quietly. "For 6 years. Let them know the work they forced on me, but let them live." Mabel looked at her niece with something like shame in her eyes. The king nodded. "It is decided. 6 years as goat keepers. Be grateful the princess has a kinder heart than you deserve." As the guards led Mabel and Essie away, Mabel whispered, Why show me mercy?" Amara met her eyes. "Because my father taught me that I'm not broken. The world is. I won't add to its cruelty." Prince Kofi took Amara's hand and led her to the balcony overlooking the kingdom. "You are going to be an amazing queen," he said softly. King Kofi and Queen Amara ruled together for many years. They became known for their wisdom and their compassion. They built homes for orphans, they protected the weak, they judged with mercy. "Your worth," Amara told the younger generation, "is not in your body, it is in your heart, and no one can ever take that away from you." If this story touched your heart, like this video and subscribe to Unbound Stories SR for more tales of courage, compassion, and the beauty that lies within. In the comments, tell me, what was your favorite part of Amara's journey? And drop your location. I'm reading every single comment.